He is known as the kind and gentle Beatle, the man who gave us beautiful songs like Hey Jude and Let It Be. But even someone as calm as Paul McCartney had people he could never forgive. At the age of 83, Paul finally opened up and shared the names of 6 singers he truly disliked. His fans were shocked. These are not random names. They are famous, powerful, and once close to him. Paul stayed silent for years, but now he has revealed the truth, and the reasons behind his anger are deep, emotional, and very personal. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. From the outside, Paul McCartney. Life looked perfect. He was a member of the Beatles, the biggest band in history. He traveled the world, played in sold-out concerts, and wrote songs that millions still sing today. But behind all the fame and success, Paul quietly carried pain that most people never saw. Being a Beatle was not always easy. Fame brought pressure, jealousy, and constant attention. Even when he smiled for the cameras, Paul was dealing with personal battles. Inside the band, there were creative fights. Paul wanted perfection, but not everyone agreed with his style. That caused tension with his bandmates, especially John Lennon and George Harrison. Outside of the Beatles, Paul faced more challenges. People often said he was too soft or too commercial. Many critics compared him to John Lennon, saying Paul was less deep or emotional. These words hurt him. He was working hard to create great music, but some people just could not see it. He also lost many friends along the way. Some were taken by fame, others turned their backs when money got involved. Paul always tried to stay kind, but not everyone respected that. Over time, the pain grew. He learned to hide it with jokes, smiles, and music. There were singers who judged him, used him, or simply made fun of him. Paul kept quiet, choosing peace over drama. But deep inside, he remembered every word and every action. And now, at 83, he has finally shared the truth. Not out of hate, but because the weight of silence had become too heavy. These 6 names are not just people he disliked. They represent moments in his life that hurt him deeply, and he never truly healed from them. Now we talk about 6 singers he dislikes the most, and why. Number 1. Yoko Ono. Yoko Ono is not known as a traditional singer, but her presence in the music world, especially within the Beatles story, is impossible to ignore. Paul McCartney has always been polite about her in public, but deep down he carried mixed feelings that he only recently revealed. When John Lennon fell in love with Yoko, everything changed. She was suddenly in the studio during recording sessions, sitting beside John, sometimes even giving suggestions during takes. For Paul, this was a big shock. The Beatles had always been a tight group, working together as one. Yoko's presence broke that rhythm. It was not just about her being there, it was the emotional shift. John started spending more time with her than with the band. Paul felt a distance growing between them, like someone had built a wall where there used to be trust. He believed Yoko did not understand the delicate bond between the members, and whether she meant to or not, her actions created tension. Her music style also clashed with Paul's. While he focused on melody and harmony, Yoko preferred raw, experimental sounds. Paul once said, "It was not music to me, it was noise." He never said it out loud at the time, because he did not want to hurt John. Years later, Paul admitted that he tried to forgive and move on. But the truth is, he never liked how Yoko changed the group's energy. She reminded him of the beginning of the end, and that pain never left. Number 2. Phil Spector. Phil Spector was a legendary music producer known for his wall of sound technique. While many artists praised his talent, Paul McCartney saw him very differently, especially after what happened with one of Paul's most personal songs. When the Beatles recorded The Long and Winding Road, Paul imagined it as a soft, emotional piano ballad. It was close to his heart. But after the band began to fall apart, Phil Spector was brought in to finish the Let It Be album without Paul's approval. Spector added heavy strings, choirs, and over-the-top instruments to the track, turning Paul's quiet song into a dramatic performance he never wanted. Paul was furious. He felt like someone had taken his private letter and rewritten it. It was not just about the music, it was about control. The Beatles had always worked together on decisions, but now Paul's voice had been ignored. To him, Spector's version destroyed the song's original feeling. For years, Paul asked for the song to be restored to how he wrote it. He even released his own version later, called Let It Be Naked, without Spector's edits. That was his way of reclaiming what he felt was stolen. Paul never fully forgave Phil Spector for crossing that line. While others saw Spector as a genius, Paul saw him as someone who disrespected his work and broke the bond of trust. That one decision left a deep wound, and it stayed with Paul for the rest of his life. Number 3. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney once shared a friendship that seemed full of promise. They laughed together, recorded hit songs like Say 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 and The Girl Is Mine, and even spoke about music business ideas. Paul had great respect for Michael's talent and thought their bond would grow stronger with time. But everything changed in 1985. Paul had once advised Michael to start investing in music publishing. He explained how owning songrights was more valuable than just performing. Michael listened and acted. But to Paul's surprise, Michael went on to buy ATV Music Publishing, which included the rights to the Beatles' songs. Yes, the very songs Paul had written with John Lennon were now owned by Michael Jackson. Paul felt betrayed. He had shared that advice as a friend, never imagining Michael would use it to take control of his life's work. When Paul asked Michael to reconsider, or at least give him a fair chance to buy them back, Michael reportedly laughed and said, "It's just business." To Paul, it was not just business, it was deeply personal. From that point on, their friendship faded. Paul kept his distance, feeling hurt and disappointed. The trust was gone, and so was the warmth. While he never spoke about Michael with harsh words in public, those close to him say Paul was heartbroken by what happened. What hurt the most was not the money it was losing a friend to a deal that felt cold, greedy, and unfair. Number 4. Liam Gallagher. Liam Gallagher, the outspoken frontman of Oasis, always had a lot to say, and he often said it loudly. During the 1990s, when Oasis was riding high on success, Liam and his brother Noel regularly compared themselves to the Beatles. But while Paul McCartney appreciated the influence the Beatles had on younger bands, he did not enjoy Liam's constant bragging and harsh comments. Liam once claimed that Oasis was bigger than the Beatles now, a clear echo of John Lennon's famous line. But unlike John, Liam's tone felt cocky, not thoughtful. Paul found it disrespectful. He believed true greatness did not need to shout. Paul also disliked Liam's attitude toward other artists. His public feuds, insults, and wild behavior made headlines, and Paul thought it gave rock music a bad name. He once joked, "He got the mouth of John, but none of the melody." Even though Paul tried to stay polite, the truth was clear: he never liked Liam's arrogance. He felt that Liam used the Beatles' name not out of love, but to boost his own fame. To Paul, music was about harmony, not ego. Over time, the two never really made peace. While Liam occasionally praised Paul's talent, the damage had already been done. Paul saw Liam as someone who talked more than he listened, who chased headlines instead of making lasting art. That kind of energy clashed with Paul's quiet, humble approach to music, and it left a lasting dislike in his heart. Number 5. Elvis Costello. Elvis Costello was one of the few artists who truly matched Paul McCartney's talent in both songwriting and creativity. When they began working together in the late 1980s, many believed it was the perfect pairing. Paul even said that Elvis reminded him of John Lennon, sharp, witty, and musically gifted. For a while, that made Paul feel hopeful, but that comparison quickly became a problem. Paul was still healing from the loss of John, and working with someone who mirrored his old songwriting partner brought up strong emotions. At first, their sessions were exciting. They wrote songs like Veronica and My Brave Face, and the chemistry was real. But soon, their differences began to show. Elvis had a strong personality. He often pushed Paul to change lyrics or melodies, acting more like a critic than a collaborator. Paul began to feel uncomfortable, even judged. He once said, "It stopped being fun." What hurt Paul most was the feeling of being controlled in his own space. After years of being a Beatle, he valued freedom in music. But Elvis brought pressure, not peace. The sessions that were supposed to be joyful turned into battles of ego and vision. Eventually, they stopped working together. Paul rarely spoke about it publicly, but insiders say the experience left a bitter taste. While he respected Elvis's talent, Paul felt he had been emotionally drained and creatively boxed in. For Paul, that was enough to walk away and never look back. Number 6. Kanye West. When Paul McCartney agreed to collaborate with Kanye West, it seemed like an unexpected but exciting mix, two music legends from different worlds coming together. At first, Paul was open-minded. He admired Kanye's boldness and willingness to experiment. They worked on songs like Only One and the hit 4-5 Seconds with Rihanna. But behind the scenes, Paul felt out of place. The creative process was not what he was used to. Kanye worked in a chaotic style, random, unpredictable, and often disorganized. Paul, who valued structure and clarity, struggled to keep up. He would often wait in silence while Kanye and his team threw around ideas or stared at their phones. What bothered Paul more was the lack of true collaboration. In interviews, Kanye barely mentioned Paul's name. Many fans did not even realize Paul had co-written parts of the songs. One time, Paul joked, "I thought I was just making a song, but people said I gave him his first guitar lesson." Though Paul tried to laugh it off, deep down, he felt used. He had joined the project with genuine respect, but left feeling more like a background guest than a partner. The experience drained him emotionally. It reminded him that not every collaboration is built on trust or equality. Paul never openly attacked Kanye, but he quietly distanced himself after that. At 83, Paul finally admitted it. Working with Kanye was not inspiring, it was exhausting, and it is an experience he would rather forget than repeat.